Welcome to the Burnout and Beyond podcast. I am your host, Victor Bartley, and in this space, we explore burnout intervention measures in the lives of people. Burnout syndrome is not anything new, but has been an existing pandemic within mainstream culture. Leaders in various industries have faced this in silence, but we want to encourage every listener that you are not alone, and burnout is an invitation to begin again. Today's episode is a raw conversation with a childhood friend and now colleague, John Coaxum. John is a husband, father, author, pastor, and soon-to-be licensed therapist. He recently had an episode with burnout that had him out of it for about a month. As he continues his journey of recovery, join the conversation as we grow beyond the burnout with John. Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Burnout and Beyond. I'm Victor Bartley, your host, and I am thrilled today to have a childhood friend and colleague, buddy, to share the space with us today, John Coaxum. Coaxum, man, welcome to the space.
I appreciate it, Vic, man. Good to see you again. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Well, let's dive in. You have quite a journey to share. And so if you could, for our audience, just give us a 30-second commercial of who you are and what you do.
All right, man. So I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, man. Vic, I know, you were in Columbia, man, and we used to roll together sometimes doing some church meetings and other things like that. Man, that's where I was born and raised, grew up there, then moved to Oakwood University in Alabama, decided to get a degree in pastoral ministry, went to Andrews University, got a master's of divinity, started pastoring in Cleveland, moved to Virginia to pastor as well. That's where I kind of started my degree, which I'm in now, a master's of clinical mental health counseling, which I'm nearing the end of. And currently right now, I am located in Columbus, Ohio. I pastor a church here, the Hilltop Community Worship Center. And then I also have a church plant that's really kind of headed by my associate pastor. I've written three books. You can find them all on Amazon. I've done a few podcasts as well. I run an Instagram page called Therapy and Theology. And for the most part, man, I really do love what I do. And I have this burning passion for counseling and therapy. I better not forget this, man. I love my wife, and she's the best thing in my life. Honestly, man, my wife, Leah, I'm so proud of her and all she's doing. And my 2-year-old daughter, Layla, the biggest accomplishments of my life.
Man, that's major. And major congrats on those various fronts as you're completing your degree and you're tying up the loose ends there, man. So again, early congrats on in that endeavor, man. With so much going on, and even whether it's present or past, is there an episode of burnout in your own journey that comes to mind?
Yeah, man. It's almost kind of difficult to talk about, but I think here recently, man, I had I'd say about a month stretch where I was just out of it. And I'm glad I mentioned my wife because I'm thankful for her. She's a nurse, but even if she wasn't, just her compassion towards me, probably saved my life. I started feeling things in my body, just sensations in my body. I was very tired, lethargic, didn't feel like doing anything, literally just wanted to lay in the bed. And even when I went to get a physical, like the doctor was like, listen, you don't seem too well right now, and wanted me to get a checkup. I thank God for my wife, who called the head elder of my church and was like, do not call my husband for 2 weeks. Y'all handle it. You take care of it. My husband's not going to die. We're going to take care of him. He's going to take a rest. He's going to do what he feels like doing, even if that's just watching TV and laying in the bed. He needs to take care of himself. And because of that, man, I came out of that thing much better, a little more healthier. I still got a lot to learn about self-care and more I have to do. But my wife, I think, really, put herself on the line and, took care of me in that moment. And I'll be forever grateful. And that was just recently that happened to me.
Wow, man. No, I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that. That's so powerful. Were you, as you are on the other side of it and you're kind of looking back and learning lessons, were there some clues that you may have ignored that you now recognize?
Yeah. I thought I had gotten over it. So I am by nature a micromanager. I have this natural distrust of people, in the sense that I know that people won't be able to accomplish what is in my head. And when you're talking about pastoring, you're talking about leadership, right? You're talking about
Absolutely.
accomplishing certain things. And if I have a vision in my mind, my natural default setting is to do it myself, because they can't see what I see. And I started doing that, and I got back into the habit of doing that, trying to do everything, running over here. And then also, man, if I'm being honest, the stress of school. So I'm in school. I have a 2-year-old daughter. You know what that's like, having a toddler. I only have one of them. You know what I'm saying right now, but she is full of energy and life, as I was. I want to spend time with my wife. There's a personal life I want to have. There's meetings upon meetings that happen with the church, and I was just trying to do all of that at a very high clip. And the reality is, you can't. you just can't do everything. And I started to do that, and I think that's what caused me to kind of fizzle out, man, and to sputter, and to start feeling those sensations in my body, and then not to feel very healthy at all. So I needed to learn more delegation at that point.
Wow, no, that's powerful. And as you were sharing that, the such simple words, but ones that we can have an unhealthy relationship with, of I can't do that. It's like, sometimes there are these, I think, come to these wars on, like, this tug of war at times with certain phrases. Like, we're told, like, don't say you can't, right? And so then you're always trying to relearn, like, to say I can. Then when you come to realities of stress and having a healthy relationship with stress, you're now having to relearn how to say, like, I can't do that.
That's right.
And that's necessary and healthy for this aspect of my life. And so there's just not almost like a broad sweep or a stroke with certain phrases or certain language in our lives, but in certain spaces it works, and in other spaces, it has different application and practice surrounding it. So no, that's super cool that you said that. For somebody that can relate to the micromanaging, what were some things that you've done over the years to reduce your temptation or tendency towards that?
I had to become comfortable with allowing things to fail. That sounds crazy, right? As a leader, it's like, what are you talking about? Failure is not an option. You know what I'm saying? As you said a minute ago, even as pastors in school, and at least the expectation in the minds of our parishioners and members, we're not allowed to say no. At least that's how we think, right? We got to be there 24/7 for them, like all the time, for everything. But I think, first and foremost, man, I had to be comfortable with a program that I specifically didn't have my hands on, allowing it not to go as well as I thought I would. It's still good. It's passable. The job is done. But in my mind, I have such a lofty view of what it could be. And when it doesn't do that, then I feel bad, and I get to go into the sunken place, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. But, I think I had to become comfortable with that. I had to force myself to not answer the phone as well at certain times, as a pastor. And just by nature as well, I'm sitting here right here. Dude, my phone, I've said this before, is an extension of my body. It's just always with me all the time. My wife gets on me all the time about this. As soon as my phone rings, as soon as it dings, I'm immediately like, I'm in it, texting, stuff like that. And she was like, you don't have to answer people immediately. There's sometimes a night where you should be off limits. There's sometimes in the morning where if you need to do something, do what you got to do. I had to get really, really comfortable with delegation. And you know what I found out, Vic, man?
Yeah.
After a while, I realized that people are actually capable of doing certain things. And if I'm not personally and specifically involved in every single thing, the church is not going to fail. It's not a hole is not going to open up in the ground, and the church is just going to fall, and then I'm going to be on CNN because I'm the worst pastor or worst leader that has ever lived. We tend to think that
way.
I had to position myself, especially in a pastoral context, right? Position myself to realize, man, this thing is in the hands of God, and I have to leave this, with Him. If anybody who's listening in any other occupation as well, even though you may be the leader, the buck really still doesn't stop with you. There's always somebody above you, or it's a team effort. And so you can't put all that pressure on yourself as well.
Wow, no, man, that's so powerful. And again, like you mentioned another, I wouldn't say trigger word, but I guess like an anchor or hinge word in this topic of how do we relate to failure? Like, like is it an act? Is it a description of us? Is it, just what's our relationship to it? And what's our definition of it?
Yeah, I can speak to that, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think again, from a pastoral perspective, pastoring is I don't care what anybody says, it is performance based in a lot of ways. Every week we're standing up there, and one of my friends says, we're delivering a term paper every week. You know what I'm saying? I had a client the other day who actually told me, he was like, man, preaching is like having a baby on Sunday and then recognizing that you're pregnant again on Monday. Like the cycle continues, man, over and over and over again. And, you kind of feel like after a while, you're on trial every week, right? And if you don't do well in a sermon or in a meeting, or you can't convince this person to come over the line, or you weren't really good at this event or whatever it is, you kind of feel like it's an indictment on your entire ministry and who you are as a person. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, by and large, about 95% of pastors and probably all leaders are really not comfortable with failure. I mean, because we don't pair well failure with leadership, right?
Wow.
Everything we've been taught in media, on the internet, society has told us in order to be a leader, you've got to be stellar and almost perfect. And I think we have to begin to dismiss that out of our minds and just do what we can for as long as we can, the best we can. And, at least in my context, allow God to make the difference.
Yeah. No, man, that's powerful. I'm between a few books. And as you were describing that, I was thinking of Canoeing the Mountains, which is a book about, just pivoting in an unexpected way. And one of the ideas that the author talks about is failing fast. Essentially this concept of, and he writes from a Christian perspective, and he essentially says, like, you've got to hurry up and fail so that we can get to God's plan.
Wow.
And so, yeah, just that idea of like, I think the author was citing a supervisor or team member that was recommending, or experienced and veteran team member that was recommending, like, hey man, I'm waiting for you to fail so we can get to God's plan. It's just like,
that's deep.
That's definitely a different perspective along the lines of what you're sharing. And in the Four Agreements, one of the things that the wisdom of Mexican spirituality talks about is do your best, like, and live with that. Like, be okay with doing my best. And then, this is something that's reiterated in various cultures and various spaces and ways. But, I don't have to be perfect. I just have to I have to be willing to give my best.
That's right.
And best looks different.
That's right.
At different seasons. Just outside our window in the kitchen, there is, I think it's a jasmine tree. And there are flowers that appear on it, I think, for 3 weeks out of the entire year.
Wow.
Like, it's beautiful for those 3 weeks. After those 3 weeks, the flowers have fallen onto the pavement. And the tree is bare.
Come on now.
The tree is bare, man. And it's like, but because we've been here a couple of years, we know that it's still living and healthy.
Wow.
The sign of it being its best is not whether the flowers are on there every week. It's that the life is within the roots and within the branches. And that mindset, embracing that mindset, you're absolutely right, for leaders is difficult because we think that we're supposed to be blooming year round.
Right. No, man, let me just say, that was powerful analogy. And I think too, for us as pastors and any other performance-based leadership, which really, when you kind of dwindle it down, every leadership position is kind of performance-based, right?
Yeah.
If you are dependent on people's applause, right, and affirmations and kudos and accolades and people, shouting, which is something that we love as pastors. Come on, we're all human.
Yes, sir.
If you don't have it, it's like, man, am I doing a good job preaching up here? But when you are dependent on it, when you have it, you will be destroyed by it when you don't. You'll be destroyed by it. And I'm saying that from personal experience. You will see jealousy and envy and covetousness creep in, to your mind and into your heart when, you're seeing other people receiving that, but you're not receiving that. I think we have to teach ourselves to be comfortable with failure so that we can be successful, just as what you said. And that means that, man, I am not dependent on people telling me I did a good job. I am not dependent on people coming to me and saying this, that, and the third. Now, we're all human. We all need appreciation at some point.
Absolutely.
That's a human desire. But it shouldn't have to be 24/7, 365. For some decisions that we make, people are not going to like it. And, man, my dad used to say this all the time. He used to say, man, son, you are never going to please everybody all the time. You are. I don't care how good of a person. He said Jesus couldn't please everybody. So how can you?
Facts.
And when I finally received that, it has helped me. I will admit I am still struggling with it, but I'm doing everything in my power to be intentional about being comfortable with failure, so I can be successful. Yeah,
man, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. You shared your story and you mentioned about working with various clients. How are you seeing burnout show up in your client stories or in your parishioner stories?
Yeah. Oh man, so much I could say. Well, let's go to my parishioners first.
Okay.
Churches. There are few thriving churches in our world, in America specifically. I mean, thriving. What I mean is strong, good personnel, good membership base, good financial base, all that kind of stuff. And when that happens, what you have is members who will hold 3 and 4 positions. And there are a few committed people who will do the majority of the work that really should be the many. And what we find out is that many of our members are burnt out because they're doing so much, they're carrying the weight of 4 and 5 people. So I'm definitely seeing that. In my clients, what I normally see is that stress is really burning them out. Just the stress of their jobs, stress of their home life, financial stress is a huge one. There are insecurities in them. I counsel pastors as well. And by the way, I counsel mostly men because I'm the only male clinician at the site that I intern at. But I counsel most of the men, and I'm seeing them, just be burnt out by stress, man. Just life, and just like, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I know I need help. So let me go and talk to John or some other counselor. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Wow, no, man, and what you've reiterated something that's powerful and I think important, that the sensations or the experience of burnout doesn't have to just be related to work. As you mentioned with the parishioner relationship or the congregation, that's volunteer in many cases.
That's right.
Like there's no payment. That's volunteer work. There's also the home life, the personal life, and past history, and just not making peace with those various elements and aspects of our lives. And so it's not just limited to work. Work may be the easiest place that it may appear.
That's right.
But it's not limited to just those hours that we're clocked in or we're putting in for whether it's our business as an entrepreneur, our company that we're employed by, or just whatever we are being paid a fee for. It's not limited to that. And I appreciate you bringing that to light as you're seeing it in the various sectors of whether in church or as a counselor. How are people responding to their episodes, or at least what seems to be their episodes of burnout?
I'll be honest, man. I see a lot of people crumbling.
Mm,
And I use that term, specifically. Sometimes when I counsel clients, I'm seeing them crumble under the weight of the stress of their home life, of, as you mentioned, traumatic experience, lack of forgiveness, just having financial concerns, issues in their marriage, their children. People are crumbling under the weight. They really don't know what to do. Pastors are certainly in that category.
mhm.
And what we are seeing, I think I read a statistic from 2013 where it was like 1,700 pastors are quitting a month. I mean, that's an absurd number
Yeah,
of
yeah.
pastors who are leaving. I was looking at another article from Christianity Today, and I think they were saying that it's like 38% of pastors have considered leaving full-time ministry. And the fact of the matter is, Vic, man, if many pastors had another way of being gainfully employed, I think we would see probably twice that amount leave, especially now that
Mm,
we've experienced this pandemic where so many
yeah.
pastors have had to pivot on a dime and figure out, oh, what am I supposed to do now when the only thing I know how to do is be inside the pulpit and preach. And now you got to do the virtual thing and keep the church going and still keep people inspired and be on call 24/7 and practice conflict resolution skills and be the financial manager of the church. Man, there's so much in that. But yeah, man, I see people crumbling in both areas, from my clients to people in the church. People are hurt, and they actually don't know what to do. And yet, at the same time, I am seeing a rise in a desire for mental health treatment and therapy.
Mm,
At my site right now, I mean, the wait list is out the door. I think my supervisor shared with us the other day that so many people are interested in therapy, and specifically telehealth therapy, which is
mhm,
virtual,
mhm.
that now some insurance companies are saying, we're not going to cover this anymore because too many of y'all want it. And now it's coming, it's breaking out bankrupt. It's so many
Wow.
people because they're desiring it, and they don't have, people. I don't want to say people don't naturally have the tools, but as a counselor, I believe that we believe in wellness. We believe there are strengths inherent in each person, but people are not aware of the strengths that they have within them to be able to combat burnout. So they crumble under the weight. We are seeing this great resignation of people from their jobs saying, listen, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Pastors are leaving. Obviously, people don't want to serve in the church in some capacity, and they're really struggling. But at the very least, I'm grateful that some of them are reaching out for help for therapy.
Wow, no, that's such a great that's such a powerful connection, that people are, even if they're recognizing it as they're about to crumble, they're recognizing that I need to get help.
Mhm.
And no, that's extremely powerful. Um as they are reaching, um they're coming in and they're talking with you or other clinicians, what is um can are there any kind of breakthrough experiences that come to mind that have been inspirational for you?
Yeah, there has been, man, and this is going to sound self-serving, but it's not about me, honestly. But there's one particular client just the other day. I've been working with him for a while, and he said to me, he said, "John, you have transformed my life." He said, "You transformed my life," and
Mm,
I use that term crumbling, on purpose, and I use it
mm,
emphatically because sometimes when I am dealing with clients, it feels like I am building them. I'm building a person,
wow,
like I'm
wow.
literally putting the pieces back together of them being broken from whatever has broke them. And so for many of my clients, and let me just say this specifically for men, right? Because I deal with
Mm,
them. Part of the issue with men is that we will wait until the bottom falls out. I mean, dude,
yeah,
and come on, we're men here. Let's just be
yeah,
real,
yeah,
man. Dude,
yeah.
because of society, what it's taught us, we're
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be strong,
yeah.
man. You know what I'm saying? And dude, like when I got to my internship into my site, and
Hmm,
I got most of the men, I was like,
hmm.
is this normal? These guys are dealing with some serious stuff. And she was like,
Mm,
this is how men are. This is my supervisor said. She said, because we wait till the bottom falls out. We wait till like the gas tank is below E. Okay. I mean, I'm saying, so we didn't have no other choice. We're about to die unless we
yeah.
go get some help. And on a serious note, that's generally what happens. And also, one of the issues that I'm finding with men too, and this is what I mean by building, most men do not have a good support system. In other words,
Wow.
we don't have friends that we can actually share with, real friends that we can share exactly what is going on with us. Like, yo, I really don't feel like being here anymore. I'm thinking about committing suicide. Do we have friends that we can actually tell that to? Or I'm having an issue with my wife. This is what's happening personally in my life. These are the types of things that men keep to themselves. We don't have real friends or friendships. And for many of my male clients, I'm actually teaching them how to be friends. Just relate to people. And it's something that even I struggle with as a man. So that's what I mean by building people up, and I'm seeing their lives transform. I mean, because of HIPAA, obviously, and confidentiality, I can't tell you.
Sure.
But I can tell you right now, people sitting on the screen, because we're doing telehealth right now across from me, man, and putting in the work, doing the homework, participating in the interventions and the techniques in therapy, they are seeing their lives change from top to bottom. I'm literally seeing it, and I believe it can work for anybody.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Man, as you were just saying that, we underestimate the power of connecting.
Oh man.
With other people in community, man. It's so therapeutic. I mean, in many of the African cultures and customs, the South African term in Swahili of Ubuntu, and just that my humanity is tied to the group. That we are together. And so it just becomes powerful when we see just the simple things of, like, you can have somebody you can share life with. Like, it seems so simple, and it's like, well, how is that going to help me?
Right.
But as you are sharing and reiterating from just testimonials of those that you've worked with, it is a major ingredient in the transformation in our lives, that has been so valuable, man. And as you were sharing, it is something that is difficult to do, and as you mentioned, somebody's got to model it for others to catch on. Somebody has to model it in order for others to catch on. And so, as you're speaking specifically to men, we just want to encourage men that are listening, be that guy. Be that guy that's going to create that ripple effect and that wave that models what just telling your truth is, or being honest about where you are is. And trust that you have some boys, that you have some brothers in your corner that even if they don't know what to say, they're gonna rally around you. That's such a powerful encouragement for those that are doing it. Well, man, before we let you go, for those that are wanting to, there's a waiting list for you at the there's a waiting list, and we know that there are many that are needing counseling. But how can we connect with you? What are the best ways that we can connect with you?
Yeah, man. The best way to connect with me, man, is really sounding funny. It's actually, if you go to my Instagram. So I have 2 pages on Instagram. You can go to Coax Up Close, COAXUPCLOSE. That's my main page. And then you can go to therapy_and_theology. And I just try to do my best, man, to be an advocate for therapy, and I merge a little bit of theology and spiritual concepts in there as well. But my link tree is on there as well, John Coaxum, and you can get access to all of my books. And if you do want counseling and there's space available, absolutely would love to connect with people wherever they are. So that's how you can connect with me. Absolutely.
Man, awesome. I hope that if you've heard nothing else, you have heard that you're not alone in your burnout. That really, as we often remind you, that burnout is an invitation to begin again. So as you go today, continue to live well and continue to connect with others and continue to grow beyond your burnout. Peace out. Can you see clearly now? I hope that as you got a window into John's life, that you are able to look into your own with greater courage and clarity. John shared about learning to relate to failure and success in a healthy way, trusting team members, and building community. I want to reiterate that addressing each of these are key elements to burnout prevention, but the one that may require the greatest level of courage is building community. Community is the safe place where you share life with others in a vulnerable way for growth and maturity. Friends, family, therapists, and coaches can be a part of your community. Have you identified your community? Better yet, have you learned to lean into your community consistently? Well, if you have answered no to either of these questions, then let the courageous work begin. Thank you for joining this episode of Burnout and Beyond. To see previous episodes, visit the podcast page on victorspeakslife.org. If you or your organization want to grow beyond burnout, share your information by clicking the Book Victor icon. And until next time, live well.